What's going on, comic fans? It's Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe and sound, staying healthy, locked down if you are, locked down wherever you're at. Today we're going to do another 5 must-read. Going to look at a specific writer. We've done a bunch of videos like this in the past. Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Jeff Johns, a bunch of writers. Going to keep doing this because I love doing this. It's a lot of fun. Today we're going to talk about one of the most prolific writers in comic book history, in my opinion, Frank Miller, a dude who revolutionized multiple characters and experimented very, very heavily in the genre of comic books. 5 incredible series or runs by him that I highly suggest you guys check out. Before we get in, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. This is what we do on a regular basis. We got live streams, overviews, reviews, top 5s, custom bind stuff. Very, very exciting things going on the channel. If you're interested in the possibility of winning a hardcover comic at the end of a month, we do a hardcover comic giveaway on our Patreon. For every dollar you give, you basically get an entry into the drawing, and at the end of the month we give away a new release. Last month we gave away a few deluxe editions. I believe it was Lock and Key, the master editions. We whatever you guys want, that's usually what we give away. So a lot of fun stuff happening there. Check that out. Dust jackets, any sort of merch, hit us up at our email. It's down in the description below. Now let's get into the Frank Miller talk. Gotta start off with 300. My goodness. This was oddly one of the last books by Frank Miller that I read, but written and drawn by him. This was a Dark Horse comic. I think at least Dark Horse publishes it now. It's one of those fun comics that's actually more wide than it is tall. It's sort of a widescreen kind of book, similar to The Private Eye, if you own that. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other books right now I'm not remembering. But if you've seen the movie, you know what this is all about. This is the original comic version that the movie was adapted from. It's about King Leonidas and the army of 300 Spartans that he takes to fight the Persian army led by Xerxes. What an incredible, epic story. Sort of trying to portray the Spartans as the legendary warriors that they were, of course, with very, very notable scenes. And I mean, look, there are people who like and dislike Frank Miller's artwork. I'm personally a huge fan of it for the most part. I'll talk about the bad bits of it later. But I mean, for a book like 300, where it's completely creator owned, really well done, a really great story. It's not too long either. It's about 100 pages or so. Really well done. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's a book I revisit over and over again because it's a relatively quick read, highly entertaining. The art is very sharp, quick, powerful, large, epic scenes, lots of characters, lots of incredible action, and sort of, what Frank Miller does in a great way is really the way he's able to sort of direct the film, if as it were. Really amazing scenes with incredible colors by Lynn Varley. Really well done. Love 300. Next up, Big Damn Sin City. So you might notice in this video, whenever I'm looking at an actual book, I may need to cut the camera real quick, mostly because it's nudity. So anything Frank Miller does that's not the big two has a good chunk of nudity in it. Not a good chunk, I shouldn't say that. Once in a while there's some nudity. It's all tasteful for what it's worth, but it's what it is. So I'm looking at the Big Damn Sin City version. I mean, this is the best way you could possibly read Sin City, in my opinion. It's absolutely incredible. From a production standpoint, absolutely spot on. Probably the best hardcover in terms of production quality I've ever laid my hands on. You get every single Sin City story from start to finish. Really awesome. There's a little bit of colors in here, but for the most part, it's black and white. If you're unfamiliar with Sin City, it's black and white. It takes place in a city called Sin City, and it's got some really fascinating characters. A lot of violence, a lot of drugs, a lot of nudity. But what really stands out the most about this book is that Frank Miller's artwork looks gorgeous. This is probably the best his artwork has ever looked, in my opinion, and mostly because of the black and white shading and how it's done. Really, really fascinating stuff. There are these really nice one-page shots he'll do once in a while where most of the page is blank, but you've just got one little thing happening, and it's just so well done. The lighting is beautiful. It adds a really great atmosphere, and the stories are really great too. They're very gritty, very intense, very balls to the wall, fast and exciting. It's Frank Miller doing what he likes to do, with great characters like Marv, who you get to see come back, Dwight as well. He's in multiple stories. I believe it's his name. It's been a while since I've read this, but a really, really excellent book with amazing artwork. And you're getting like 1,300 pages if you get this version of it, which is a good, good chunk of content. So I highly recommend checking it out. Here's the eye hole for all you pervs out there. Looking pretty damn good. Got to talk about Frank Miller's Daredevil. This was the second book I read by him. The first one we'll talk about later, a little Dark Knight Returns action going on later. But Frank Miller's Daredevil, he pretty much revolutionized the character. That's the best way to put it. When he came on, there was a completely noticeable change of artwork. Of course, I found this out later on. I wasn't reading this as it came out, but um, a really, really, really incredible story. So Frank Miller wrote, he did the artwork for pretty much all the issues except for a handful, but he was involved with issues 158 through 161, 163 through 191, along with 219, 226 through 233. He also did a couple Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issues, Man Without Fear, the Daredevil Love and War graphic novel, and I mean, it is, and Born Again, of course, is one of the most notable storylines in Frank Miller's work with Dave Mazzucchelli, I always forget, but Frank Miller did some of the best storylines. He had Kingpin going crazy. He introduced Elektra to the Daredevil and Marvel Universe. I mean, the way he revolutionized Daredevil and sort of changed the tone of the character in a very drastic way very quickly is something very, very noticeable. And it's one of the reasons I love him as a writer. He does these incredible things. He's got these wild, wacky ideas, and they really work at times. They really, really work. At least they did in the past. Go check out his Daredevil. The two Omnis are still available. But next, I'm going to talk about Martha Washington, another Dark Horse book by Frank Miller. This is the custom bind I had done with the trade paperback. This collects the entire Martha Washington saga, the life and times of Martha Washington in the 21st century. It is Frank Miller writing with Dave Gibbons artwork. Dave Gibbons, of course, most notably known for his work on Watchmen with Alan Moore. But what's great about this book is it follows Martha Washington, a character that you get to see literally grow up in this dystopian universe, this dystopian USA that she lives in, looking at a lot of really controversial subjects here and topics, sort of corporate greed, environmental destruction, political corruption, a lot of really fascinating military corruption of all kinds, really. It's what Frank Miller's into, if you haven't noticed, based on other works you may have read by him. But Dave Gibbons' artwork is spectacular. It's really great to see Martha Washington evolve as a character. You get these little prose pieces in between as well. You get to see her again grow up, go to war, go to space, really evolve and progress as a character and try to change the world as best she can, no matter how many times it tries to beat her back down. This is, I think, one of the hidden gems from Frank Miller. I really don't hear people speak about this book that often, but it's really fantastic. It's really fascinating. It's a book I've revisited multiple times, quite relevant to what we deal with on a regular basis. Probably still will be in the future because it seems like things don't really change in the world much, but I really, really liked it. I'm going to give you guys some more eye hole action here for a custom bind. Really nice stuff. Can't recommend Martha Washington enough. Next up, Dark Knight Returns. So I'm really going to talk about all three Dark Knight. And I must say, I don't really include Strikes Again within this 5 must-reads. Dark Knight Returns, of course, a classic, absolutely legendary story. Klaus Janson inking, Lynn Varley doing colors. I mean, what can I say about this that hasn't already been said? It's one of the most seminal Batman stories of all time. I should also include Year One in here, really. Anything Batman related that Miller has done, aside from Strikes Again, is definitely worth reading. It's a must read, in my opinion. I really like this. It's a very dense read. It's 4 oversized issues. It'll take you a little bit to get through, but it's so worth it. Some of the best Joker scenes, in my opinion, in here. Introducing the mutants, which we've now seen sort of bleed into the canon DC universe at times. Really well done. Again, Strikes Again, I'm not even sure why I'm showing it here, but it's what it is. I wanted to get to the binding. Pretty solid binding. This is the original printing for this Absolute Edition. I really liked it. Again, Frank Miller's style changed a lot with Strikes Again, which is why it's not making the list. I'm just going to show you guys the artwork here. If you want to read it, by all means, read it. It's not, the worst thing I've ever read in my entire life, but it's nowhere near the quality that Dark Knight Returns was. Although it is nice to see Carrie Kelly evolve quite a bit. She's a great character. I really like her. I'm glad that we got to have another sequel to the Strikes Again story, which was, of course, Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, which I'm going to show the Absolute Edition for as well. I did a full overview on this if you're interested, but this was a great story, particularly because Brian Azzarello jumped in with Frank Miller, sort of tamed his ideas down, I think, and sort of made the dialogue a little more enjoyable, a little more realistic. And then, of course, you've got Andy Kubert doing spectacular work with the art. Some of incredible, incredible sequences in here. I thoroughly enjoyed this story very, very much. I've reread it multiple times at this point. I really like it. I can't recommend it enough. You get some backups with Frank Miller artwork in here as well, which, even compared to Strikes Again, is not horrific. It's actually decent, not incredibly bad. But I mean, compared to Andy Kubert, it's not great. But either way, it was a great way to sort of bring back the Dark Knight series. I mean, the Dark Knight saga, and end it on a great note. At least, well, we'll see what happens. But it was a great way to have Frank Miller come in with Brian Azzarello helping him wrap it up. What do you guys think? What are some of your favorite Frank Miller stories or runs, specific story arcs, entire series that he's done? What is your favorite thing that Frank Miller's done? Of course, he's had some things go up and down for him. He's not always been perfect, but in my opinion, he's been a really, really great writer who's dealt with a variety of characters and a variety of subject matter, and he's done a really great job on. For the most part, he's done a really great job. Let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on Frank Miller. Any other artists or writers you would like to see a must-read video for or top 5 video for, let us know down in the comments below. It'd be greatly appreciated. Love your guys' feedback. Love your thoughts and opinions on some of the things we talk about here. Be sure to subscribe, check out our Patreon, all that good jazz. All the information for that is down in the description below, along with an email. You can just email us if you want to for fun, if you have questions, whatever it may be. Looking forward to talking to you all. Thank you all very much for tuning in. This is Mike from the Hardcover Comic. Until next time, as always, you stay classy, Internet.